A new sexual assault every 7 minutes. A knife attacks every 10 minutes. These aren't just numbers, they're a countdown. A countdown to the collapse of public order in Great Britain. Today, we are looking at a nation on the brink where parents have declared a red-level threat from London to Birmingham. But why now? And why does the government seem to be looking the other way? The data is staggering. We can now reveal a massive surge in foreigners committing sexual offenses across the UK. Convictions in this category have skyrocketed by 62%. We are talking about over 40,000 predators currently on the streets. As winter approaches, school children are returning home in total darkness, with 60% of them now statistically under threat. The question being screamed from the rooftops is simple. How did we get here? The public's patience didn't just wear thin, it snapped. Groups of fathers took to the streets, demanding the return of capital punishment for grooming gangs. Their message was clear: stop the boat. But the response from 10 Downing Street was even clearer. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's official stance? He acknowledged the violence, but insisted it was unrelated to the offender's background. This stance has led to the explosive accusation of two-tier hypocrisy. While the government calls for tolerance, 210,000 victims of sexual violence are left feeling abandoned. Look at what happened at the migration center. Stones and bottles slamming against riot shields. The radio orders given to police were telling: stop the mob. Do not allow a single casualty among the migrants. Meanwhile, just miles away in South Birmingham, an assault by illegal arrivals was reportedly omitted from official details because the government deemed nationality and religion irrelevant. If the streets are dangerous, it's because the prisons are full. 99% of British prison capacity is reached. Under Starmer's SDS-40 scheme, 40,000 criminals are being released back into the population. Nigel Farage caught the administration red-handed. The government's fix is to promise 14,000 new places, but not for another 6 years. This has created a deterrent vacuum. If you're a predator, you know the cells are full. If you're an illegal arrival, you know the deportation flights are grounded by the Human Rights Act. The police are overwhelmed, tracking offenders only to watch them be released by bureaucratic decree from Whitehall. Perhaps the most chilling part of this investigation is what is happening inside the British courtroom. Lawyers are now successfully arguing for sentence reductions based on the background of the attacker. In several cases, a 7-month reduction was granted because in the attacker's country of origin, the age of consent is as low as 14. While thousands of mothers protested in Parliament Square, counter-protesters waved flags in foreign scripts, arguing that grooming gangs don't deserve capital punishment because we must consider the cultural norms of these people. This is the fundamental fracture in British society. Whose laws apply? The world is watching. Nigel Farage has proposed a radical solution: the deportation of 600,000 people back to Africa and the Middle East. Starmer called it impossible, citing the Human Rights Act. But across the Atlantic, Donald Trump is weighing in. He has called London an unrecognizable place and compared the migration flows to self-destruction. Trump even hinted that if Britain doesn't suppress radical extremism and encroaching Sharia, he might review Britain's terms in NATO. He points to the U.S. ICE deportation squads, which moved 800,000 people, as the only viable blueprint. Why would a government allow this? Nigel Farage and his supporters claim it's not incompetence, it's a deliberate political strategy. They point to the $6 million spent every single day on hotel bills for arrivals, while British pensioners struggle to heat their homes. The theory is cynical. An arrival lands, they are housed and protected for 5 years, they get a passport, and with that passport comes a vote. Critics argue Starmer is importing his future electorate because he knows he has lost the traditional working class. Keir Starmer is the former British prosecutor. He knows the system. He knows about the machete attacks and the grooming gangs. He cannot claim inexperience. Britain is currently a place where justice feels suspended, where the state chooses to house the foreign national rather than protect the local daughter. The question remains, is this the 10-year vision Starmer promised, or is it the end of the Britain we once knew?
To understand the current state of British streets, one must look behind the steel doors of the UK prison estate. We are witnessing what experts call a deterrent vacuum. The math is as simple as it is terrifying. 99% of prison cells in Britain are currently occupied. This isn't just a logistical hurdle, it is a green light to the criminal underworld. The SDS-40 scheme. Under Prime Minister Keir Starmer's current administration, a controversial scheme has seen 40,000 criminals released early into the general population. The vanishing supervision. The audio report reveals that over 40,000 potential repeat offenders are now circulating without adequate supervision due to a lack of institutional capacity. The government's long-term promise. In response to the immediate danger, the government has promised 14,000 new prison places, but the timeline for completion is 6 years away, a delay that Nigel Farage and other critics argue is far too late to stem the current tide of violence. The deterrent hasn't just evaporated for local criminals, it has vanished at the border. When 380 illegals arrive on small boats in a single day, they are met not with the threat of removal, but with the shield of the Human Rights Act. Starmer has explicitly cited this act as the reason why hundreds of thousands of individuals cannot be deported, even in the face of rising crime rates. As the audio suggests, if a predator knows the prisons are full and the deportation flights are grounded by law, the fear of consequences disappears entirely. Perhaps the most controversial development is the shift in how the British legal system handles offenders from different backgrounds. We are seeing a fundamental fracture in the concept of equal justice under the law. The reports coming out of dozens of courts are staggering. Sentencing reductions. Lawyers are now successfully arguing for sentence reductions based on the background of the offender. The 14-year-old threshold. In some cases, legal teams have secured a 7-month reduction in sentences by citing that the age of consent in the attacker's country of origin is 14. In London, demonstrators have even gone on record stating that grooming gangs should not face harsh punishments because society must consider the cultural norms of these people. While mothers protest in Parliament Square, the very definition of a crime is being debated through the lens of cultural relativity. This has led to the red alert declared by parents who see their children returning home in the dark while known predators are released by bureaucratic decree just weeks after conviction. The message being sent from Whitehall is that the background of the offender may now be more important than the safety of the victim. We now arrive at the most explosive accusation of all, the demographic engineering theory. This is the heart of the divide between the current administration and its most vocal critics. The numbers being cited by the opposition are staggering. £6 million of taxpayer money being spent every single day on hotel bills for arrivals, while British pensioners are left to choose between heating and eating. The opposition's argument. Deliberate strategy. Nigel Farage and his supporters argue that these costs and the open border policies are not accidents of incompetence, but a deliberate political strategy. The 10-year vision. Critics point to Keir Starmer's request for 10 years to realize his vision, suggesting this timeline is actually for demographic engineering rather than economic recovery. Importing the electorate. The theory suggests that by processing, housing, and eventually granting passports to arrivals, the government is importing its future electorate to replace a traditional working class that feels betrayed. Loyalty purchased. As the audio claims, every hotel room booked is seen by critics as a vote banked for the future, and every amnesty as loyalty purchased with public funds. However, to understand the full picture, we must look at the government's stated reasons for these expenditures.
The Home Office maintains that hotel use is a temporary, albeit expensive, necessity caused by a massive backlog in asylum processing that began years before the current administration took office. Legal obligations. The government cites the Human Rights Act and international treaties as legal barriers that prevent the immediate deportation of many individuals, regardless of the political pressure to do so. The SDS-40 reality. While the audio claims 40,000 predators are being released, official Ministry of Justice guidelines state that the SDS-40 early release scheme explicitly excludes those serving sentences for serious sexual offenses or high-level violence. Economic defense. The administration argues that its 10-year plan is focused on national renewal, rebuilding the NHS and the economy, rather than the dependency class suggested by the opposition. So, where does the truth lie? Is Britain a nation in self-destruction, as Donald Trump claims, or is it a nation undergoing a difficult but necessary transition? We have seen the reports, a 62% increase in foreign-born sex convictions, and a legal system where cultural norms are reportedly weighed against the safety of the public. We have also seen a government that claims its hands are tied by the very laws designed to protect human rights. One thing is certain. The red-level threat felt by parents and the growing fury in the streets suggest that the social contract in Britain is being tested like never before. Whether this is a dirty game of politics or a global crisis of migration, the cost is being paid by the people in the streets of London and Birmingham.